Making headlines. The Maldives welcomes the application of arrest warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Defense Minister of Israel. The President resolves to organize an exhibition named Divihinge Ufeddun Tedikamge Mauras, aimed at bolstering the country's productivity. And the President announces the construction of Isravvehinge Hiyavahi, a home for the elderly in Addo city.
Welcome to the English News. I'm your host Malak Ahmad Fayaz. Now for the news in detail. The government of Maldives expresses strong support for the recent application of arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel and Minister of Defense of Israel. These warrants were filed by the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court (ICC) before the pre-trial chamber, the first concerning the situation in the state of Palestine. The Maldives condemns the ongoing aggression and genocidal acts perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinian people, which starkly violate international human rights and humanitarian law. These actions have resulted in a severe humanitarian crisis. In alignment with the ICC prosecutor, the Maldives believes that both Netanyahu and Gallant must be held criminally accountable for the war crimes and crimes against humanity committed against Palestinians. As a state party to the Rome Statute, the Maldives underscores the importance of adhering to international law and upholding justice and accountability. The government of Maldives affirms its confidence in the ICC's impartiality and integrity and trusts that the prosecutor has presented substantial evidence supporting the allegations of war crimes committed by Israel. The Maldives remains steadfast in its support for the Palestinian people's quest for self-determination and statehood. President Dr. Mohammad Moizu resolves to organize an exhibition named Divehinge Ufeddun Terikamuge Mauras, aimed at bolstering the country's productivity and fostering substantial economic growth. This decision followed deliberations on a paper submitted by the Ministry of Economic Development to the Cabinet on May 19th. The exhibition will be jointly facilitated by the Ministry of Economic Development and the Trade, the Business Center Corporation. It will feature various fields including the creative economy, digital and innovative sectors, entertainment and marketplace districts. Additionally, President Moizu has made significant decisions during the cabinet meeting following thorough discussions with the ministers. The initiative aims to ensure the robust annual continuation of the exhibition, highlighting its importance in driving economic growth and productivity in the Maldives. President Dr. Mohammad Moizu announces the construction of Isravvehinge Hiyavahi, a dedicated home for the elderly in Addo city. This decision followed a cabinet meeting at the President's office where a proposal from the Ministry of Social and Family Development was reviewed. Isravvehinge Hiyavahi aims to create a supportive environment for elderly individuals who require state care due to the absence of family support, ensuring they can live their remaining years in comfort and contentment. The facility will offer high-quality services and will be funded by the state budget. In addition to the initiative, the government will introduce regulations allowing individuals who live with or care for seniors to earn points in new housing schemes promoting family-based care for the elderly. Furthermore, President Moizu has committed to amending existing laws and regulations to better protect the rights of the elderly. Minister of Finance Dr. Mohammad Shafiq highlights the current administration's proactive efforts in significantly improving the financial conditions of the state. These remarks were made during discussions on the Scaling Back and Rebuilding Buffers report formulated by the World Bank about the Maldives. The World Bank report indicates that although the Maldives has seen substantial advancements in the tourism sector, the overall pace of economic growth has slowed. The report also notes that despite a surge in tourist arrivals, economic efficiency has been stagnant, with the spend in value per tourist remaining low. During the discussions, Minister Shafiq acknowledged that last year's economic growth forecasts were not met, attributing this to the previous administration's failure to implement strategic measures. Furthermore, the minister strongly emphasized the current administration's goal of significantly reducing state expenses. This includes initiatives such as amending regulations related to subsidy provision and revising the Asanda health insurance scheme. He also highlighted the implementation of reform policies aimed at improving the operations of state-owned entities. Minister Shafiq also provided insights into the government revenue attained this year, reiterating that it met expectations, affirming that the government will fully utilize reports compiled by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in preparing next year's budget. The Ministry of Islamic Affairs announces that the members of the Maldives Hajj mission have arrived in Saudi Arabia. The mission, comprising 5 officials from the Islamic ministries responsible for assisting Maldivians traveling to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj pilgrimage this year. The ministry stated that the mission will collaborate closely with Saudi Arabian authorities to facilitate the journey for Maldivian pilgrims. The Maldives Hajj mission, tasked with officially managing the arrangements for the pilgrims, includes a total of 7 members. Among them are a doctor and a media representative from the Islamic ministry, ensuring comprehensive support and communication for the pilgrims. This year, a total of 1,000 individuals from the Maldives will perform the Hajj. The presence of the Maldives Hajj mission is aimed at ensuring a smooth and well-organized pilgrimage experience for the Maldivian participants. The Cabinet unveils plans to introduce a new policy that will allow individuals who care for senior citizens to earn points within the framework of the government's housing project. This initiative aims to facilitate convenient cohabitation for the families with senior members. During the Cabinet meeting held on May 19th, the Ministry of Social and Family Development proposed a bill outlining this new policy. It will award points to individuals living with or providing care for senior citizens, integrating this benefit into the administration's new housing project initiative. The President's office stated that the policy is designed to promote the cohabitation of families with seniors, ensuring that the elderly can live comfortably and securely with their loved ones. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has previously affirmed that housing projects will prioritize opportunities for senior citizens, emphasizing the administration's commitment to supporting the elderly population. By implementing this policy, the government aims to ensure that families can conveniently live with senior members, fostering stronger familial bonds and providing better care for the elderly. The Tilamale Bridge project represents a significant stride in the Maldives' journey towards economic revitalization. This government-led initiative aims to connect the residential development islands in the Greater Male area, linking the primary economic hub of Tilafushi with Male, promising substantial economic benefits. Initially conceived by the previous administration, the project was intended to connect Male, Vilimale, Gulifalo and Tilafushi. Practical work on the bridge began a year before the end of the previous administration's term, with assurances that the efforts were in motion to connect to Vilimale before the term ended. The administration further claimed that 77% of the work would be completed by the end of this tenure. However, only 28% had commenced after 5 years, leading to public disappointment due to the lack of substantial progress. Under the new administration led by President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu, the project has seen significant revitalization. The government prioritized analyzing the reasons for the initial delays and accelerating progress. Since taking office, President Muizzu has personally overseen the project, engaging directly with contractors and the Indian-based company in charge. His strategic interventions have propelled the project forward, restoring public confidence in the success. Remarkable advancements have been made in the past 6 months. Managing Director of Maldives Gas, Abdullah Mohammed, reveals plans to establish a cooking gas storage system by the end of the year, enabling storage for 5 months' supply. Speaking to PSMNEWS, Abdullah highlighted the current limitations, noting that the existing storage capacity for liquid petroleum gas, LPG, is only 35 days, necessitating frequent and costly purchases. To address this, he said that a new design has been prepared and funding arrangements are underway to expand the storage capacity. Additionally, Abdullah stated that the new system, which will allow for 5 months of storage, is expected to be operational by the end of the year, with completion anticipated within 6 to 9 months. He also said that the expansion aims to mitigate supply issues even amidst geopolitical instability in the Middle East. Furthermore, Abdullah said that efforts are being made to operationalize the gas plant in Tinadu Gafdal Atoll by next year. He said the initiative aims to reduce cooking gas prices in the southern atolls and improve service efficiency. He also said that land has been allocated for a new distribution center in Hulumale Phase 2 and for the construction of a company office building in Hulumale Phase 1. Housing Development Corporation HDC orders the removal of huts and objects placed by private individuals for beach development in Hulumale Phase 2. HDC strongly urged the removal of these structures in the 3 beach areas of Hulumale Phase 2 by June 15th. This includes small outlets such as snack carts, coffee stalls, food huts and other similar setups which were not issued by permits by HDC. Moreover, HDC affirmed that the removal of these outlets is part of a broader beach developmental plan, further aimed at enhancing these areas with the necessary resources and infrastructure. Furthermore, HDC shed light on the persistent complaints that have been received regarding the unplanned placement of these huts. In response, HDC is taking steps to revitalize the beach areas by introducing new resources and ensuring compliance with new regulations once these facilities are introduced. Ooredoo Maldives introduces a roaming SIM under the name of Saudi Passport, specialized for pilgrims traveling to perform Hajj and Umrah pilgrimage. The travel SIM card intends to provide seamless connectivity for pilgrims during the season of Hajj. Regarding the launch of the travel SIM, the Ministry of Islamic Affairs underscored that the initiative would play a significant role in providing seamless connectivity and excellent rates for pilgrims during the Hajj season. Minister Dr. Muhammad Shahim Ali Said, Ooredoo Maldives has introduced a specialized roaming SIM named Saudi Passport, tailored for pilgrims embarking on the Hajj and Umrah pilgrimage. The Ministry of Islamic Affairs has emphasized the significance of this initiative, highlighting its role in ensuring seamless connectivity for pilgrims during the Hajj season. Furthermore, Minister Dr. Muhammad Shahim Ali Said stated that the introduction of these travel SIMs will enhance telecommunication services for pilgrims, extending gratitude to Ooredoo Maldives for their efforts in providing the travel SIMs for pilgrims. The Saudi Passport travel SIMs will be utilized in the upcoming season of Hajj pilgrimage. The SIM card is endowed with a bundled offering, a bundled package inclusive of 15 GB data, 60 minutes for voice communication, and 60 SMS allowances for roaming purposes. Additional data usage will be charged with $0.06 per MB. Ooredoo has facilitated the acquisition of the SIM cards at a cost of $64.8 prior to departure for pilgrimage. The Environmental Protection Agency EPA announces the intention of a survey addressing the ongoing coral bleaching issue as shared in a recent post on social media. The Maldives has been experiencing persistent coral bleaching exacerbated by rising sea temperatures with significant occurrences dating back to 1998. EPA has notably observed an increase in coral bleaching cases in recent years, attributing it partly to human activities that disrupt reef conditions. Furthermore, EPA warns that extensive end reclamation and beach nourishment activities could further delay reef regeneration. The agency is further actively investigating complaints that some project operators are not adhering to the measures that were strategically reinforced to be effectively implemented. Additionally, EPA has implemented several initiatives to extensively mitigate the negative impacts of the mass coral bleaching event, encompassing temporary moratorium on all major coastal development projects and land reclamation activities until June 10, 2024. However, some works have been allowed to continue. Markets in Asia and Europe suffered a downturn after racking up a series of gains as profit takers stepped in, while traders were also spooked by a surge in commodity prices.
Eyes are also on the release of minutes from the Federal Reserve's May policy decision, hoping for some idea about officials' thinking as they considered 3 straight forecasts beating reads on inflation. That, however, came before figures last week indicated price rises were easing, stoking fresh hopes the U.S. Central Bank could cut interest rates a couple of times this year, with some looking at July or November as possibilities for a first. Still, a number of Fed decision makers have warned they are not willing to call for a reduction until they are sure higher borrowing costs are doing their job and that inflation is truly under control. After a mildly positive day in New York, where the Nasdaq hit a record high and the Dow ended down from Friday's record, Asian investors were cautious as they eyed rising commodity prices. Copper, a key gauge of the state of the economy, owing to its widespread use, hit a record above $11,400 on Monday, while gold was also hanging just short of its own peak, touched on the same day. Silver was around an 11-year high. National Australian Bank's Rodrigo Catriel said that copper is now on a month-old rally boosted by tight supply, with smelters in China decreasing output. Hong Kong led losses, shedding more than 2% after soaring around 30% from its January low, while Tokyo, Shanghai, Sydney, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei, Wellington, Jakarta, Bangkok and Manila were also in the red. London, Paris and Frankfurt were also down. China's announcement last week of plans to support the country's battered property sector by buying huge numbers of unsold homes, as well as lower requirements for buyers, provided a huge boost to markets.
Tens of thousands of Iranians gathered to mourn President Ibrahim Raisi and 7 members of his entourage who were killed in a helicopter crash on a fog-shrouded mountainside in the northwest.
Waving Iranian flags and portraits of the late president, mourners set off from a central square in the northwestern city of Tabriz, where Raisi was headed when his helicopter crashed on Sunday. They walked behind a lorry carrying the coffins of Raisi and his 7 aides. Their helicopter lost communications while it was on its way back to Tabriz after Raisi attended the inauguration of a joint dam project on the Aras River, which forms part of the border with Azerbaijan, in a ceremony with his counterpart Ilham Aliyev. A massive search and rescue operation was launched when 2 other helicopters flying alongside Raisi lost contact with his aircraft in bad weather. State television announced his death in a report saying the servant of the Iranian nation, Ibrahim Raisi, has achieved the highest level of martyrdom, showing pictures of him as a voice recited the Holy Quran. Killed alongside the Iranian president were Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian, provincial officials and members of his security team. Iran's armed forces chief of staff Mohammad Bagheri ordered an investigation into the cause of the crash as Iranians in cities nationwide gathered to mourn Raisi and his entourage. Tens of thousands gathered in the capital's Vali Asr Square. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who has ultimate authority in Iran, declared 5 days of national mourning and assigned Vice President Mohammad Mukhbar as caretaker president until a presidential election can be held. State media later announced that the election would be held on June 28th. Iran's top nuclear negotiator Ali Bagheri, who served as deputy to Amir Abdullahian, was named acting foreign minister.
The UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, warns that humanitarian aid to Ukraine is falling back even as the country's needs rise, more than 2 years after it was invaded by neighboring Russia.
Carolina Lindholm-Billing, the UN agency's representative in Ukraine, warned the situation was degenerating, with some 4 million people already displaced, including some very, very vulnerable people. Lindholm-Billing said that there are much less resources for humanitarian assistance because the humanitarian needs with these developments are actually growing. She added that it is the most vulnerable that will bear the brunt of that reduced funding and support. In an interview with AFP in Geneva, she said that international attention on Ukraine has decreased over time. The UN's 2024 humanitarian plan for Ukraine amounts to $3.1 billion this year, including $599 million for the UNHCR. But both the Global Response Plan and the UNHCR appeal were only around 15% funded in the first quarter of the year, while the same funding reached around 30% during the same period last year. As the conflict drags on to become what she termed an ultramarathon, she added that the cash assistance, the humanitarian in-kind aid, the help with accommodation, house repairs, and the psychological support is now less frequent and less predictable. She highlighted the fallout from the ongoing Russian offensive around the eastern Kharkiv region, with countless civilians often left without basics such as electricity and water supplies. Russian troops since May 10 have carried out a ground assault in the northeastern region, where they have achieved the largest territorial gains in the last 18 months. Lindholm-Billing said, as of Sunday, some 10,300 people had been evacuated in border areas, and evacuations still continue.
The Philippines and the United States US agree to train Filipinos who have to build and operate nuclear plants as the Southeast Asian country seeks to boost its electricity supply.
The announcements came after Manila and Washington struck a nuclear cooperation agreement in November that cleared a path for the U.S. investment to jumpstart atomic power in the energy-hungry Philippines. Under Tuesday's deal, the Philippine Department of Energy and the Philippine American Educational Foundation will offer scholarships and exchange programs for Filipinos to learn about civil nuclear power and renewable energy. Philippine Energy Secretary Rafael Lotella said the advanced training will ensure the country has the human resources that are needed for the sector. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos has signaled determination to adopt nuclear power in the country and has even flagged the possibility of reviving a mothballed $2.2 billion plant built during his father's dictatorship. The deal signed in November on the sidelines of an Asia-Pacific summit in San Francisco committed the Philippines to safeguards against the use of transferred nuclear material to produce nuclear weapons. Known as 123 agreements after their section in the U.S. Atomic Energy Act, the pacts are critical for investment by U.S. nuclear companies, which are wary of running afoul of laws related to proliferation. The United States also plans to set up a civil nuclear industry working group for Southeast Asia based in Manila. The group will connect Philippine partners with U.S. companies, helping to accelerate the Philippines' transition to clean and safe nuclear energy. The Philippines, regularly affected by electricity outages, relies on imported carbon-belching coal for more than half of its power generation.
That might have been a test of Thiago Motta's credentials to take over Juventus. His Bologna team made a blazing start but collapsed at the end and drew 3-3 with the Turin Giants.
Former Italy midfielder Motta's contract with Bologna, where the 41-year-old has been since 2022, expires at the end of the season. His team have been a revelation this season and are already qualified for next season's Champions League. Monday's draw preserved third place ahead of Juventus on tiebreak. Juventus playing their first match since Massimiliano Allegri was fired following a spectacular tantrum as his team won the Italian Cup last week, started in a daze. After 2 minutes, Riccardo Calafiori side-footed into the roof of net as the ball dropped to him in space following a corner. On 11 minutes, Argentinian Santiago Castro, a 19-year-old making his first Serie A start, headed in at the near post. The only challenge he had to survive was from teenage teammate Urbanski, also eager to nod in from close range. With Juventus seemingly uninterested in running or tackling, unmarked Jens Odegaard then smashed home a 13th rebound but was deemed offside. Juventus showed more bite after their halftime encounter with interim coach Paolo Montero, the former Uruguay defender who had been managing the club's under-19 team. With visitors pressing, Castro pinched the ball in midfield in the 53rd minute and launched a Bologna counter-attack. It finished with centre-back Calafiori running in alone on goal. After both coaches made 5 changes, Bologna imploded in 5 chaotic minutes. Federico Chiesa pounced on an error by John Lucume to pull a goal back for Juventus after 76 minutes. Motta had taken off both goal scorers. Montero, it turned out, had sent on 2.
Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella unveils a new category of PC that features generative artificial intelligence tools built directly into Windows, the company's world-leading operating system.
The tech giant estimates that more than 50 million AI PCs will be sold over the next 12 months, given the appetite for devices powered by ChatGPT-style technology. Nadella said at a launch event in Redmond, Washington, that they are introducing an entirely new class of Windows PCs engineered to unleash the power of on-device AI. He added that they will call this new category Copilot Plus, the fastest, most AI-ready Windows PCs ever built. Of all the tech giants, Microsoft has pushed the most aggressively to infuse the powers of generative AI into its products, often leaving rival Google to play catch-up. ChatGPT-style AI, which is called Copilot at Microsoft, is available across the company's products, including Teams, Outlook, and its Windows operating system. Microsoft even tried so far unsuccessfully to rejuvenate Bing, its poor-performing online search engine, with generative AI powers. Microsoft said Copilot Plus PCs built with powerful AI-ready chips are 58% faster than the M3 MacBook Air. Companies like Lenovo, Dell, Acer, and HP said they would also release PCs that run on Microsoft's new Copilot Plus software. Microsoft said that the AI features will take place on the device, so you won't have to wait for data to get sent to and from remote data centers or pay for a subscription. AI offerings will include live translation, image generation, and a state-of-the-art ability to interact with your computer through chats and simple prompts instead of clicking on files or dropping down menus. Microsoft's pivot to AI has been celebrated by Wall Street, and the company is now the world's biggest company by market capitalization after dethroning Apple.
That's all the news we have for today. Thank you all for watching.
दतीवेनु देहिता माये लोग तो दिल पर यारा दीवाना बेविफा
ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಒದಗಂತරීච්චති දුව්වනේ 30 මඩුමඩු ගවාතුක ඉන්නානේ මිකපෙ දුව්වේනේ 20 කිලෝමීටරට හුරිමති තියති හුස්ජාග ෆහතුක තියති ඔංගා මීහු